Good to talk to you, Elaine. So I think there are three factors that prompt people to continue to spend despite the coronavirus. One has to do with, they have still stable income, they have good prospect about the economy in general, and their income and jobs. So that consumer confidence is pretty strong. And second is that, stable price level, the low inflation rate that was recorded at 0.8% increase back in August compared a year ago, that is conducive to consumer spending. And last but not the least, I think, the governments around the country, at least 20 local governments have given coupons to consumers to encourage them to spend. And I think last but not the least, I think as, the reporter talked about, that people just have that pent up demand, because of these restrictions, because the pressure, of the COVID, I think people just have the time and now the mood and to go out and enjoy lives.
So how much have people been saving for the past almost 2 years? And what is that doing in shifting their mindset as they look for experiences and making these days that they're off from work special for their families?
Right. So there has been a trend of increasing savings in the past 2 years, and that's precautionary saving. But at the same time, we also see people increasing their spending on a variety of items, for example, health insurance and also home improvements. And I think, as the reporter also talked about, recreational vehicles. And as a matter of fact, during this pandemic, we have seen people increasing their spending, for example, to go to movie theaters. The box office ticket sales have increased by 7.5% compared to a year ago. And people are also increased their spending on food consumption. According to Meituan, the food delivery giant, this year the total spending has gone up by 30% compared to last year. Not to mention, people are going to Hainan Island and engaging, duty-free shopping. That has gone up by 87% according to the Alipay.
We did see and are still seeing some big challenges across the country as we speak. We mentioned the pandemic and the restrictions that have been put in place that kind of keep people closer to home. But we also are seeing power outages in some parts of the country, and we've also talked about some severe weather in others. How is that impacting spending and consumption?
Right, that's a great question. So at least I think from the holiday spending, we have seen a very strong consumer demand, and that's definitely positive for the economy because, as you mentioned, from the demand side, investment demand has weakened because of the tighter restrictions on property markets and real estate investment. So consumption demand becomes so important. And on the supply side, manufacturing production has weakened by raw material prices and by power outage, partly due to, carbon emission curb campaign. So that makes the service sector really important, right? Because the service sector is a lot less energy intensive. So I think consumer demand and the service provision will become really important to drive the economic growth for the rest of this year.
And that being said, what is your outlook for China for the rest of this year? You can't, it's not too early to talk about what we could see for Chinese New Year.
Right. I think, right now, economists and also investors are pretty divided on this. We have seen people revising down the fourth quarter growth projection. But within China, we also see some economists are sticking to that 8% growth rate for the last quarter or for the whole year. So I think it really depends, like you said, how well the pandemic can still be under control and also how quickly China can solve that power outage issue. But again, I think it's really a rebalancing act. On the one hand, there are ways to import more coal from Mongolia, Indonesia, or Russia to solve the power outage problem and increase manufacturing and export production. But at the same time, I think the government is balancing that against that long-term goal of reducing carbon emission.